I'm a cyborg. I'm speaking from my computer, but I'm writing with the golden pencil, an oracle.
Everyone has a poetic experience with the world, I think. My name is Pedro Barateiro. I am an artist based in Lisbon.
Hello Pedro.
Hi.
Thank you for coming to Frankfurt. Right now we are in the heart of the data center of interaction. This touches actually one of the aspects of the opening monologue. And in general it consists of a selection of GIFs taken from the internet. It's all found footage material. And then there's also this text written by you. And I would like to know how you developed the work.
In this case of this film, I had the text written before. I had the text already, but the images that I use in the film are also images that I was collecting along the time. So these small GIFs, the found footage, because there are just 2 or 3 images in the film that are my own. It's very short, so you almost don't notice it, and that was the idea. And I even use the same system of the GIFs, which is this sort of short animation. Because what I'm interested in with the GIFs is that GIFs are very similar to early cinema because of the, you know, the kind of the scenes they happen. So there is this space, this certain space of freedom, let's say, within the use of intellectual property and copyrighted property that I like a lot. And the text was sort of like the basis for the film. So it's sort of like the landscape, let's say. And then the images, they go along and they try to create frictions and spaces for specific activities to take place.
Yeah, I also had the feeling that the video develops a certain force in a way. The viewer kind of gets into this stream. It's also like in a dream, and the reduction of language that we experience nowadays creates also that loss and confusion. And how do you see the role of poetry within this uncertainties?
Poetry plays a really important role, of course, in the film. Poetry gives a certain meaning to us individually of a sort of like a totality of the experience of the world, of how we perceive things. And poetry for me, it's how we put a spell, and that's why poetry is often used in music, in chanting, with the voice, because the voice is always, of course, very important in my practice, because it's the way in which you give a certain body. And that's why in the film, the voice is between like machine and human. You don't know if this is being processed by a machine or by a human voice. So, yeah, I mean, poetry is that moment where it's your interpretation of the world. Everyone has a poetic sort of like experience with the world, I think.
I don't wish to be abstracted from this moment. I don't want to use your harmless Wi-Fi connection and substitute it for my dreams, my personal unconscious mass. Please, leave it alone. Although this could be the opening monologue, it isn't.
How do you think about authenticity nowadays?
Well, I think that authenticity is a term that we can't really address properly, because we don't know which are the levels of how much more authentic can you be. Because if you expose yourself fully, you become transparent. It's like an image that you want for others to see, because you can be very unhappy, but at the same time you can present an image and you look like you're great, you know? But so you can live this sort of like these doubles, triples lives within that social media, and that's the multiplication of the self, because I don't think you have one image for yourself. You have many images of yourself, And that's just a good way of presenting them.
Okay, as you said, we are transparent, but the cyborg at one point in the video says, we are not transparent. I repeat, we are not transparent, and it's a really funny moment because it comes really surprisingly.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a way like how we can maybe trick the internet and to change our own algorithm. Maybe that's a way of somehow gaining back some authenticity in the end. I don't know.
But I think a lot of the things that are now that the ways in which, like the Kardashians or all these people that use the social media like a lot, I think they are putting themselves into an extremely vulnerable but extremely authentic. I mean, this is what they are. You never saw things as raw. I mean, things are becoming more and more raw, but they are also more produced in that sense. So there are more. There is much more of a conscious of a setup like we are doing here. You know, there is much more of this. People are performing more. We are all performing more because we are much more exposed to cameras.
So let us come back maybe to one specific frame, one specific image you use at the opening monologue. It's a shot of Kevin Spacey as the Congressman Frank Underwood in the Netflix series House of Cards. Why that? Why is that in there?
Yeah, because I have a very clear thought in my mind that fiction is many times responsible for what happens in real life, and I really think that the character of Frank Underwood as the president or as the congressman that then eventually turns into president really colonized people's imagination in order to accept Trump now. Usually the president of the United States is portrayed as a nice guy, you know, as a decent guy, as someone that is, in the end, he's going to make the right decision. And Frank Underwood is not that person. And now you have Trump to confirm that, you know, and the TV series was going before the elections in the Obama years. So you would have this very nice guy on one side. In reality and in fiction, you needed someone really bad. The portrait of Frank Underwood, as in the character, is hanging on the Smithsonian Museum in the gallery of presidents of the United States. You know, I mean, these two lines are very blurred nowadays.
The sound in the opening monologue, it has different layers. And what do we actually hear, and why did you choose exactly these sounds?
Yeah, so the in the beginning, and it's a track that stays for the entire film, is the arrivals of the Met, the 2017 Met red carpet gala. So the Met Gala has this red carpet with all the photographers, and when I isolated the sound from the image and I was just listening to the photographers, hey, look at here, look here, look here, because they are asking to the movie stars and everyone that's going through the gala to look to the camera. Sounded like, I don't know, really a very dramatic situation. It looked like fire or something like that was going on. And then on top of that, I have demonstrations from the Arab Spring also there. And then I have a bunch of sound compositions that I found online on a place called freesounds.org, where a lot of musicians and people that just capture sound, they put the sounds there to make them available for everyone to use them. Yeah.
Like a bit like the Giphy thing somehow.
In a way, it's like it's like the way Giphy works, for sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thanks for the invitation. It's a lovely place.